Imagine you're at a concert. There's a sea of musicians on stage, each one playing a different instrument, but all working for the same song. There's a drummer keeping the beat, a guitarist strumming the chords, there may be a pianist filling in the melody, and maybe even a violinist adding a layer of warmth. Each player is incredibly skilled, but if they're not listening to one another, adjusting their timing and working together, the music will fall apart. This is your story of your ministry in your church. Only instead of a group of musicians, you have a production team. Whether you are the team or you work with a number of staff, each piece of media, video clips, slides, or custom graphics is an instrument in the concert of your worship experience. The success of those visual elements depends on the harmony of the team. If each piece is used without syncing with the rest, it can create a distraction rather than a powerful experience. This session is all about making sure your media team, whether it's a solo effort or a small crew, is in sync, because teamwork makes the dream work. So in this session, we're talking with Kevin Wyers, Church Visuals Creative Director, about how to take either your ready-made media or your custom media and implement it into a practical way into your church service. All of these wonderful visual media pieces are great, and I want to talk through how to make sure they are presented well in your worship experiences. So here's our conversation. All right, so we're here with Kevin from Church Visuals. And Kevin, I know as we're talking team right now, there's a whole team of people at Church Visuals that can come alongside of the local church. And so first and foremost, I know you're a big cog in kind of what all takes place at Church Visuals. So what do you do exactly on the team?
Well, thanks, Trevor. Yeah, I get to be the creative director over our very talented list of producers, designers, voiceover talent. So anything that comes in from our churches and partners, whether they're looking for a series design, if they're looking for worship videos specific to what they have in mind, kids curriculum, games, kind of everything that they're bringing to the table for Church Visuals to help them produce. So that could be for their weekend experience. It could be for a big idea they have for a certain series. We take that, we try to match all their needs and expectations, give that to our designers to give a really custom look for whatever they're asking for. Then we hand it over to our motion designers, our video editors, and honestly, the team here has such a big heart to help tell the story of these churches, to help promote the gospel. It's our goal to kind of just amplify whatever these projects are that these churches are bringing to us. So I get to connect all the dots, the pixels and colors and hues and bit rates and all the technical terms and give that
Yeah.
back to the churches and hopefully help them tell their story.
That's so cool. I know that's such a vision that Church Visuals has in terms of coming
Mhm.
alongside of local churches. So if I'm a pastor at a small church and if I start talking about team, I'm like, I have no team. I don't have a designer. I don't have a videographer. I don't have any of that. Or if I'm a pastor at a large church, I might say things like, I have a team, but my team is so swamped with things that are happening within the life of our own church. It's hard to think about anything new or anything creative. And so what does it look like then for the local church that's small or the local church that's big to actually partner with Church Visuals? How can you guys and your team come alongside of these churches to be able to create experiences where people can meet Jesus?
Yeah, man, that's a great question. I've actually been in both of those worlds. I've been in church
Hmm.
plant world. I've been in mega church creative director world. And what's cool about the team at Church Visuals is we can really support either, right? So if you're a
Yeah,
church plant or if you're a pastor at a church without a creative staff, first of all, there's a team here ready and waiting to help you, right? You don't need to be limited by the lack of people in your building. There's a subscription to our ready-made library that's got tons of assets ready to just download and use and customize. They're Canva ready. So if you are unfamiliar with any of the creative team things and you don't want to necessarily dive into that end of the pool, there's lots of resources on the Church Visual website that will give any church a takeoff point. If you're a larger church or maybe you have a little bit of a budget to play with, then you could put in a request for something specific that you have on your heart as a pastor or to take off of your creative team that might be Max, like you said, because they're in the nitty gritty and the
right.
trenches of church communication. But ta-da, here's a big conference, or ta-da, here's a big summer event, and we're not sure that we can put this in our bandwidth. Well, Church Visuals can.
Yeah.
And what's cool about our team is a lot of them have church design, church production background. They get the church world They're very honed in on the spiritual aspects of design and creativity. So it's not like you have to educate us on any of the verbiage, lingo, or standards. We can get a really good fix on the tone of a church based off of the communication that we have with them. So if you have something specific that you want, we can hit that mark too.
That's the thing I love about it actually is that I feel like it's so custom where I have certain gifts and skills as a pastor in my local community. You know, I can write, I can preach, but I can't edit, I can't film. And so if I can provide to you kind of the content that I want, you know, clearly written out in a write up or something like that, but I can partner them with your team to be able to bring it to life. That's a really beautiful partnership between the two.
Yeah, man. I mean, some clients they'll give us outlines, right? So
Hmm.
here's the title we have in mind. Here's the outline of the 3 week message or the 5 week message. Here's the scriptures we're going to cover. Here's kind of what I'm thinking when it comes to the visual, and we can take that and we can hone in on that.
Yep.
And the complete opposite of that is true too. We have some clients that say, "This is kind of what I'm thinking for a
Right.
title, but really
Right.
need your help. You guys do
Past
what
that,
you
I don't know.
do." Yep. But our team's willing and able to hit either one of those targets.
So we know, you know, teamwork makes the dream work and everything, but what are some possible obstacles that might come up in terms of the local church partnering with church visuals? What kind of things would it be helpful for the pastor or the ministry leader to think about in terms of partnering with you all?
I think, communication is key.
Mm.
We like to manage expectations right out of the gate. So any information that can be provided right as you're entering your first submission for a new project. Like we like to know if there's a brand guide. We like to know if you have a certain
Mm.
style in mind. I'm a visual learner. A lot of creatives and designers are visual learners. If you have some sort of thing that you've seen online or a target that you've seen for a design that you can submit to us, that helps because then we know what style it is. Some an adjective can mean different things to different people, but a picture
Right.
really helps communicate kind of the tone of what you're looking for. I like to know tone when it comes to video production. Like, is this going to be something that's energetic and hopeful, or is this supposed to be
Mm.
dramatic and conflict driven? Like any of those things that if you have a good idea of kind of what you're honing in on, if you can communicate that out of the gate, as opposed to us discovering that later, that always helps. If there's big no-nos, like we don't want to use any images of Jesus because we don't want to represent him. We want to just make sure that we're showing other people. Like we like to know
Yeah.
that out of the gate. Any big yeses or big nos are good for us to know as we hand that down to the team. But yeah, like I said, I don't know that there's a request that we haven't seen yet. So just being as specific as you can with what your expectations are when you're putting in any kind of creative request is going to help our team support your team or support you in hitting the goal for your creative project.
That's great. So, if the goal is to creatively communicate the gospel, the CV team does a great job of coming alongside local churches for that. From your experience being kind of in the local church, both small and large, what are some really important maybe team members that pastors need to think about in terms of finding either a volunteer or if there's
Sure.
finances for it, you know, a staff person, or partnering with another local church close by? Who are some really key team members that a pastor would really want to put around them to be able to take what you provide to them and really implement it well?
Yeah, that's a great question. I would say as a pastor, it's going to be probably easy for you to find somebody close to you in the church that can interpret your heart
Mm.
and kind of know your vision and know your likes and dislikes that you can trust to tell that person those things and then allow that person to take all of those things and communicate it to the team, right? Whether
Yeah.
that's an internal creative team or if it's an external creative team like church visuals. Um, that frees the pastor up from getting snagged
Yeah.
or caught up in a lot of creative back and forth because creativity, there's no creativity without conflicts, right? There has to be a little bit of
Sure.
problem solving. There has to be a little give and take back and forth. And you don't want the pastor to spend their energy doing that.
Right.
So I would say a lot of pastors will think, well, I know somebody that is really good at Canva, or I know
Yeah.
somebody that has iMovie on their laptop. So they'll
Right.
go there because they have the toolbox. Well, that's great. But somebody that can interpret the pastor's heart and vision is
Mm.
vitally important because the tools can be found anywhere. The
Yeah.
tools can be found on the church visuals team. The tools could be found with another team member, but somebody that can carry the heart and vision of that church and that pastor and interpret that really well is probably the key piece I would put in place.
That's great. So if you got a team member, like you're saying, somebody that knows the pastor's heart and kind of interpret that, or it's somebody running the social media account, or it's somebody who's running Canva or making movies, I think what you just hit on is really important. They got to be somebody that's trusted. A team that can be trusted is a team that can do great work. So I love Church Visuals because I think it's a team that can be trusted. It's been proven in my church. And so I appreciate all that you do, Kevin, to make that possible. So thanks for spending a little time, man. God bless. Have a great day.
Thank you, sir. You too.
There's one main point that can help your team be successful. Make sure that your team knows how to purchase and download all of the different items from Church Visuals and implement them into your worship space. See you in session 10.